ask yourself, what does whatever the thing is that you want, what does that actually mean? And to really investigate, to find out how is it you have defined that for yourself. And then notice everything about that, which is conditional. And it would be useful to even write this down. You don't have to write it down, but you might find it useful just to write it down, to make a list of all define whatever the thing is. So you want peace, you want happiness, you want freedom, whatever it is. Write it down. And then write down what is the definition of that? How will you know when you've achieved it? How will you know when you have that? And notice everything about that is conditional. And then for each of the conditions, ask yourself, how do I know that that's true? How do I know that that is actually a condition for this thing? So if I want happiness, I say, well, my definition of happiness, this will just to clarify for yourself, the working definition that you've been using in and of itself is very enlightening, because most of the time you haven't clearly defined it. It's just a vague idea. So just to actually define it, all of a sudden you could realize, well, this is absurd, right? Because most of the time it will be. So if I say, okay, what does it mean to be happy? I said, well, I have only nice sensations and pleasant thoughts, and the weather is nice and agreeable to me, and all the people in my life are approving of me. On and on. This is the kind of definition that you may have. It's just to recognize that in and of itself, you might realize, well, that's crazy. But then you could note down each of the things about that that's conditional. Right? So I have this condition of feeling sensations that I like, condition of the weather being agreeable to me, the condition of other people have to approve of me. And then ask yourself for each one of these things, is that true? I mean, and how do I know it's true? If you think it's true, how do you know it's true? What's the basis of that? What you will discover, I imagine what you'll discover, is that it's fundamentally baseless. It's just some ideas that you picked up however you did. Maybe somebody else told you. Maybe it was something that you read. Maybe something you saw on TV. Maybe you just made it up out of nothing. But nonetheless, if you really investigate, you have to recognize it's baseless. Now, as I said, a lot of people will find this very challenging. Very, 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 very challenging. Some people won't. Some people this will be relatively easy, but some people, I know because I've gotten feedback sometimes from people on this. They say, well, hold on a second. Now, if I was to, if I really did if I really followed those instructions, then suddenly it would become apparent to me that to be happy is inherently meaningless. Well, that's right. That is correct. And some people are very uncomfortable with this. But actually, if you really notice, you can recognize that this is incredibly empowering. You see, up until now, your whole life, you have been living under the illusory sense that there was some objective thing called happiness, some objective thing called peace, some objective thing called love. So where was the power? The power was outside of you, so it seemed. Because if there's an objective thing called love, then it's something that exists independent of you. And so whatever it is, there it is, it exists. has nothing, it's not defined by you. It's not relative to you. You have no influence over it, no power over it whatsoever. It's just there. It exists. And now you say, I want it. I want this love. But there it is. It's outside of you. So you have to go seeking for it. I need this love. And then you come up with a definition of it. Oh, it's these things. It's all these conditions. Oh, I need it. But I have to get all the conditions right. So where is your power? You give away your power. Can you notice that? I mean, can you, if you'd really just check in with yourself now and notice how you've been doing this, you could probably feel as you imagine how you do it, you could actually feel the energy draining away. There's the love out there. I need to get all of the conditions just right. And your energy is just draining away. And you wonder, why do you feel bad? Well, there you go. So what I'm telling you is a very cheerful, wonderful truth that many people have difficulty with, which is that nothing has any inherent meaning. That means that you have the power. You've always had that power. It's just that you were unconsciously using that power against yourself. You unconsciously imagined that there was this external objective thing that was conditional, that you needed and wanted. And then you were chasing after it. But you were always doing that. The power was never outside of you, actually. You just imagined that it was. You were actually using your own power to imagine this thing outside of yourself. And then this is how fantastic your power is that you can actually use your own power to imagine something outside of yourself, and then you can imagine that you are giving your power away to it. And you can cause yourself to feel terrible. That's how powerful you are. And you can wake up to that. And you can start to use your power for yourself instead of against yourself. You don't have to sabotage yourself. You can investigate and discover that what you are looking for is actually, in truth, unconditional. So none of those conditions are true. But you have to go, for most people, you'll have to go through the exercise in order for this to start to become clear. So you become conscious of what is the definition that you're using. And then notice what are all the conditions in there. And then for each one, ask yourself, how do I know that that's true? And if you're really, really honest about it, but you have to look and see the truth for yourself. But when you really look for yourself, you will come to realize that you cannot know that it's true, because it isn't actually true, because you made it up. Now, maybe you made it up because somebody else suggested it to you, but you still took that on. It's always been your power. And you can recognize your power, your authentic power, and you can begin to utilize that authentic power for self-care instead of self-harm. So self-care means to recognize the unconditional nature of what it is that you want, and therefore to also recognize that what it is that you want exists already here now, in and as you.